Welcome back to part 2 of installing the P7100 on the DT360 engine. If you didn't watch the last video, the link is up here in the corner. We got the pump installed, or at least bolted onto the engine. We still need to put the drive gear on for the injection pump, which that is over here. We have that all ready to go. Like I mentioned in the last video, if you're doing this, the old bolts will not work. They're too small. You need to run to your hardware store and get some 7/16-20 threaded bolts, because that is the only way they'll work with the Carson Stauffer pulley adapter. So we got those. We will be putting that on. But first, tonight I'm actually going to be building the support bracket for the pump itself. This pump weighs like 40 pounds, and so as you can see here, there are bolts, there are bolt holes here, and like there's one on the other side as well, and that is because it needs an actual support bracket to hold it up to keep it from cracking this housing, especially because this is aluminum. If this is just you're hitting bumps and this is bouncing around, there's a good chance that these could crack or strip the threads out or something. So we need to support this monster of a pump. I think the way I'm going to do this is using the bolt holes for the fuel filter down here. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to take it off and do a plate back there behind the fuel filter bracket, so it'll make the filter bracket sit out a little more, but I don't think that'll matter because we have plenty of room back here. And then build another plate, and then do another plate up here, then do another plate on the bottom of the actual pump, and then weld a good piece of metal between them, and that should suffice for supporting it. So I guess first thing first is take off that fuel filter and then see what we have to work with. All right, I have my first part of the bracket done. So this is the fuel filter and the bracket. This bolts on, these long bolts here go through the bracket and into the block here. So I'm just going to put this, and it's just going to sandwich it between, and then that is what I'll weld off of up to the injection pump. Alright, so I have the two separate brackets welded on. You can see that's to the engine, and then right there you can see the bottom of the bracket on the pump. So now I just need the fun part of welding them together without letting them move. Alright guys, we have the little support bracket down there. It's all tacked up and half welded up. Can't weld the rest of it until I actually take it off, but I do have it on there, and that should be able to, this is like 1/4 inch steel, and so that should be able to hold all the weight from this ginormous P pump. That way it's not putting all this pressure on this housing and this aluminum adapter here, because we need to keep this 40-pound pump from bouncing around, and I think that will do the trick Some other things that are exciting, as you can see up here, we got ourselves an ag manifold. As you can see here, it is quite a bit different. The main thing is obviously the most obvious is the inlet hole is directly on top, unlike ours where it came out to the side, which takes up more room. But then also this entire manifold is probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches shorter than the chuck manifold. And so because of those two things, like you saw before, it dang near fits without any cutting. The only modifications we'll have to do is we're gonna have to shave down here, which we knew we would have to. Just shave that down until it does fit. It won't take much, and hopefully it doesn't go through. If it does, then we'll just have to weld it. So that is super exciting. Huge shout out to William down the road from us. He contacted me on Instagram and said, hey, I have an ag manifold, and he was willing to just trade us for ours because his will be in a tractor. He doesn't have the small space that we have to work with. He has a wide open tractor, and so he's like, this will work for me. Just traded us straight across, and we are super grateful for that. So thank you, William. And also he was just full of tons of information that we hadn't even thought of. And we just didn't know just from inexperience. He has an 800 horsepower sled pulling tractor that is really cool. If you want to check him out, here's a link to his Instagram. He has some cool videos, and his tractor is way cool. So some other exciting things that I discovered tonight. Our oil dipstick tube is gonna work. It clears everything. And then something I'm really excited about, this throttle linkage I just took from our old pump, and it bolted right on to this new P pump. And so we don't have to change any of our throttle linkage. So that saves a bunch of time. And then even which it'll be on the other side, our shutoff switch, it uses the same bolt pattern. So I'll be able to take the other cable bracket from the other pump, bolt it on this other side, and our mechanical kill cable is going to work as well without any modifications. So really all we need to do is, of course, install the gear, but just figure out the fuel lines and the oil line. The oil line, I'm gonna have to do some research. The oil feed coming off the block is directly behind this pump, and I don't know if we'll be able to get a fitting on there. So I'm gonna do some research and see if there is another oil feed hole that we can come from the block that is in a more accessible spot. And then that has a dash 4 fitting on it, so we'll be able to run just a dash 4 braided line from the block to the pump. So yeah, making progress. Those are all the things that we have ran into and been able to solve. I'm pretty pumped that a lot of things are going to be able to carry over from the other pump, so we're not going to have to build anything else. Just figure out lines and we'll be good to go. So hopefully soon we will have those lines and we can install them, get that intake bolted on, and then we can start building intercooler piping. Me and Ryan are back out working on the truck. Ryan is over here shaving down our manifold here, because even though this pretty much fits on, there's still some slight modifications you can see here. Ryan has been shaving this down because it hits over here on the pump, which AFC housing, Ryan informs me. But as you can see here, he's even shaved down a little on this as well. So you're pretty much just shaving things down until it fits. So it's just what you have to do. Obviously it sucks shaving down that beautiful pump and shaving down on this manifold, but in this type of build you just do what it takes to make it fit, and then it's not going to affect anything at the end of the day besides aesthetics. So not a big deal. Still a few things to do. We got a lift pump in. This is a PPE one that I found here, and not gonna lie, one of the main reasons I got this one, because it seems like it pumped a lot, and it comes with a harness, so that makes it easy to just plug into what we already have, and then don't have to mess with that. So that should go in pretty fast. We're gonna have to get some fittings for the pump, and then yeah, that shouldn't be hard at all. And then we're still haven't put the gear on. We're still kind of verifying what we need to do for timing. We think we have a good idea of how it works, but we're not exactly 100% sure, and it's not really something that we want to mess up. And so we're gonna touch base with a couple of people and kind of verify before we just throw things together. So yeah, chugging along. Then we have, after that's done, really all we have to do is put the radiator and intercooler back on, build the intercooler piping, and should be good to fire up. Oh, and we're gonna send our injectors off to get at least cleaned. So we'll probably take those off tonight and then send them off so that they can get back here faster. Jeez. All right, Ryan has got the intake manifold to fit. It is a very tight fit in there, and yeah, you just shave down until it fits. So intake manifold is done. Then we have the boost reference hose here that connects behind the pump right there, and that tells you, and that's how the pump determines how much fuel is being added. So it'll say, okay, at this much PSI, I will add this much fuel. This pump can max out at, I think, like 270 cc's. And so I think at 25 pounds, if I remember right, at 25 pounds of boost, it will be able to throw in 270 cc's. And then that's where you take your turbo information and say, okay, it can run this much fuel, blah, 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 smart stuff. That's when you talk to your turbo guy. So, but for now, we're just gonna be running this turbo for probably not very long. But when we first start it, we're gonna be running that turbo, and it's probably going to smoke a ton because it's asking for more air, but that's okay. So yeah, Ryan did a great job on that. Got it all figured out. I wasn't really doing, this is more of a thinking night for me. Can't really see back there. Right there. So right here, these are our relays for the lift pump. And like I said, this harness makes it super easy. They're all labeled. So we have grounds, power wire that goes to the pump. Then we have power wire that goes to constant 12. So this will just go to the back of the ignition switch where it has, no, actually just kidding. This one is going to come from the relay fuse panel over there. And then I believe I'm going to be running the pump on the fuel rail, or on the frame rail, on the inside of the frame rail back there. So I'll probably be mounting that tomorrow since it's getting late tonight. So I guess we'll catch you guys tomorrow when we get back. Well guys, I have the pump kind of mounted. That's where it's gonna go. Putting a connector on it, and then the nice thing about that is where the harness already comes through, so I can just put my wires through there and make a plug, and it will plug right in there. And then you see there's the inlet the outlet down there, so I can just run the hoses straight to that. And then for the wiring, pretty straightforward here. So there are my relays, have the constant coming from the relay board over there, have my grounds going to the ground there as well. Then the wires come down through, like I said, go through the harness hole right there. And then I kind of have everything mocked up here. So when I turn the key on, trips the relay, and as you can see I have 12.3 source voltage. Everything went really easy. I kind of had to figure out the wiring a little bit. The way they had it, I don't know if it's because it's made for a Duramax, and so I don't know if the way the relays are set up, it's supposed to work directly how their Duramaxes are wired up. And so they have two relays, one for the constant power and then another relay to trip while you're cranking, which we don't really need it to be. We don't really need the pump to be running while we're cranking, because the injection pump itself is actually a pump as well. We're just making sure that the pump always has constant good pressure. That way we don't burn it up. So I just ran one relay that's on when the key's on, and then that will be pumping while the engine is running. So that should work, and it makes it really simple, which is always good. Now I think I'm actually gonna end the video here. Right here actually. Yes, we have the pump on, but we are actually gonna have to take the pump off so that I can install the oil feed line. That is behind there. I had to get a 45-degree fitting to make it so that line can get around the pump and then up to the inlet here. But I can't get that on without pulling off the pump. So what I'm gonna be doing is the next video that I make, it's gonna be like the full step-by-step process. I wasn't really planning on it doing it this way, but just the way it turned out, obviously we're learning along the way, and things just kind of get out of order and things. And so I want to make a video that is just a step-by-step instead of, okay, here's the 3 videos to install it. I just want one video that's like, okay, put the oil line on, put the pump on. I'll have the bracket already. I'll have the pump already wired, so just hook that up. I'll have the manifolds ready to go in, so that'll just bolt right in. And it'll just be a lot easier video to follow instead of having to go through and watch all these other videos. So like I said, I wasn't really planning on that, but that's just how it's gonna be. The next video, part 3, or just the full P7100 install video, is gonna be coming next. So watch out for that one. It should be here in a few weeks. And then we can just get this truck back together and go for a first start, and hopefully everything goes as planned, but we will see. So if you haven't, subscribe so that you can keep up with all the videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. That helps me out a lot, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.